doing today is we're going to focus a little bit on entrepreneurship. This is going to be one of the major fundamentals of our class. Once again, guys, thank you guys for joining us as always. Your attendance is a pleasure. And one of the things that we're going to be looking at primarily is going to be talking about what the areas of focus should be. And entrepreneurship is kind of a class that combines a lot of our materials all together. It does drive a lot of what we talked about from an economics standpoint to how to build a company and beyond. And it's very sequential to kind of know about it, kind of realize what it means and how to understand it a little bit better. Before we start, we're officially in the second half of our semester. Yay. I hope that this turnaround will be fun and exciting and you will make the most out of it. And what we usually are going to be discussing is talking primarily on the learning objectives of ideas that we talked about and what this can give us later on. So in today's topic, what we're going to be looking at is entrepreneurship, okay? I hope that the first half of the semester was exciting. The first half of the semester was fun. Now we're on to the next half. And the next half, especially now, we're going to be using chapter 7, but we're going to talk about many different aspects from our first half of the class, such as economics, how companies are started, international business, just the fundamentals of business as well, and how it fits all together. So in our learning objective for today, what we're going to be focusing on is entrepreneurship. What is an entrepreneur? Well, an entrepreneur is somebody who starts a business, okay? Somebody who has an idea, a eureka moment. Somebody says to themselves, well, you know what? I have, management experience. I have experience in different fields, and I would like to pursue a field in a particular topic, okay? And a lot of times, entrepreneurs, maybe they're born with it, maybe they're not, but nonetheless, entrepreneurs have a specific goal, and many of them decide, well, I do not want to be managed by another person. I want to start my own company, and I would like to pursue a focus on something that I do love, okay? However, it's not fun and games at all sometimes. What you don't hear sometimes is the downside. Many entrepreneurs fail. Okay, many people fail specifically on it. Okay, and it's not that there's a given solution here. There's no real focus on if you start a company tomorrow, are you going to succeed on it? Nobody really knows. Okay, the only suggestion I can give you is that if you do start a company, definitely give it a shot. Sometimes starting a company takes time, okay? And you're gonna get a lot of no's. So because you get a lot of no's, rejection, and downside of business, some people do not like it. And unfortunately, some people walk away from it. Those who stay in and enjoy the habit of unknowns, those are going to succeed. And something that's always very interesting is that when you do become an entrepreneur, there is a good side here that if you do take classes in college for, management, business, entrepreneurship, they do help you, okay? They do actually help you. They do help you because there's entrepreneurs out there that have an idea, but are not business oriented. You guys are being tailored to become a business individual. So what happens a lot of times is that within the business realm, you guys are usually equipped for it as well. So in our learning activity for today, our learning objectives, we're going to define what is an entrepreneur, what describes an entrepreneur, and we'll talk about the three characteristics that entrepreneurial activity needs. We're going to identify 5 potential advantages of starting your own business. There is a potential advantage out there, and some people do like it. And nonetheless, if you guys remember from our economic class, a big chunk of companies in Canada are entrepreneurs, okay? Are individuals who go into their own business. It can be one or two people, it can be a group of people, but they are usually defined as a small business, okay? So we're going to talk about what a small business is. We're going to explain the importance of small business and how it impacts the Canadian economy. We'll also explain why small businesses tend to foster innovation and growth and what makes them more effective than large ones, and talk a little bit about good producing and service producing sectors of entrepreneurship, how it affects the economy. We'll explain to you guys what it takes to start a business and evaluate the advantages and disadvantages of forming your own business from start, buying an existing business, or obtaining a franchise. There's a lot of options out there. So again, it's a risk that people will take. Some people start a business because they see that there is a market out there and nobody's doing it. Other people will simply, see that, they want to be part of um, the trade block. They want to be part of the pie. And then some other people will say, well, listen, I want to be part of a bigger, better item. Rajveer. Yes, Rajveer. Hello. You're on the mic. Nope. Okay. So what occurs a lot of times is that whenever we explain why businesses fail, there is a good reason why it happens. And a lot of times, many people, they either buy a business idea from other people. So again, people are going out there and buying a franchise like McDonald's. And the reason is, of course, McDonald's is a proven idea. When you go to McDonald's, you know the Big Mac, you know their story, you know what quality you're going to get, and people buy into that. Same thing with Tim Hortons. You walk to Tim Hortons, you know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get a coffee. You're gonna get donuts. You're gonna get a sandwich. Everything is already pre-made for you. You know exactly what you're gonna get. There's other businesses out there that you get an idea, and then you have to figure out what the idea is. So when, for example, people started out as entrepreneurs in e-commerce, what happens a lot of times is that these e-commerce, what occurred is that many of them, they went into a market that really nobody else knew. Okay. What do you mean you can buy a product online? What do you mean that you can watch TV online? What does that mean for me? Okay. So a lot of times, the idea here is that when you look at entrepreneurs and people starting their company, nobody imagined, 25, 30 years ago, 35 years ago, just to push it a little bit longer, nobody imagined that people would walk around with a cell phone and they would pay every month to have a cell phone bill in $60, $70 a month. Nobody imagined that. Okay. So a lot of times, the idea was out there. And I know that when you look at cell phones is just one idea, but exploded into multiple ideas together. It exploded into apps, it exploded into applications, it exploded into using the items, it exploded into so many different categories that it created even more entrepreneurs because of it. Okay. So, for example, if it wasn't for the cell phone, where would things like, I don't know, Uber be? Okay. You need Uber to hail a ride. And then again, Uber came out of the idea that we have cell phones, that cell phones applied. And of course, we use cell phones. Okay. Same thing with the internet. When we use the internet was there for information. Okay. But look at us today. All right. We can actually do a live class in our emphasis in our class today. We can do a class online. Okay. Nobody would imagine this class if it was succeeding 15, 20 years ago. Not in my entire mind. Okay. So we started to create applications. Okay. All of a sudden, technology propels us. And as a result, people have innovations and ideas and start their own company. Would it succeed? Well, when you look at, for example, social media, there were so many small social media sites out there. Many of them did not succeed. Now you see who wins the game here. Same thing with technology. Some people created Zoom beforehand and nothing happened, but now you see that Zoom was a successful player. So I want to give you an example of entrepreneurship in a small case. Take, for example, beer. We've been talking about beer for ages. And one of the things that comes out of beer is a company from Hamilton called Collective Arts Brewing. I left you there, a little bit of a website that you can go to. But Collective Art Brewing is a company out in Hamilton, and what they do is that they create beer. Okay, is beer something very complicated? Not really. Okay, it has regular ingredients, okay? But people created a brand name behind it, okay? So what they did a lot of times is that they brought in entrepreneurs who make art, okay? And they brought them in and they told them, listen, put your art on our bottles. And that's what they did. And they created a niche, okay? Is their beer any better? Okay, it was created by Matt Johnson, and a lot of times it's nothing. It's nothing really clear. Okay, I'm not gonna say that their beer is even better than others, but what their idea was that they were focused on helping artists. Okay, so they called themselves Collective Art Brewing, and the idea was we're gonna make beer, and we're gonna include some art as well. All right, so they created a niche that was never attacked all at the same time. So when we start to understand a little bit about, entrepreneurs like Matt Johnson, who created Collective Arts Brewing, we understand that there's a side of innovation going on. The side of innovation is that entrepreneurship generally focuses on innovation and ideas, okay? Innovation that nobody came up with. Entrepreneurship generally means offering a new product, applying a new technique or technology, opening a new market that's never been opened before, or developing a new form of organization from the purpose of producing or enhancing a product all at the same time. So a lot of times entrepreneurs mean starting a business and making a profit, and that's true as well. But a lot of times when we're running a business we saw, especially in our fundamental class in unit number 1, we combine resources to produce goods or services. Okay, and that's the idea. So we produce goods and services, and entrepreneurs means setting up a business for the soul of making a profit. Okay, for the soul of being surviving, making sure that if you're able to succeed, if you have the idea, if that light bulb on our screen right now is to go on and light our class, then we have an idea. Okay, and the goal is how long can this light bulb last for? Because sometimes you have an idea, you exploit the idea, and there is a risk that the idea might not always be there. So a lot of times entrepreneurs take risks. Okay, do we take risk in our daily lives? The answer is yes. We take risk every single day. Every single day we walk in, we take a risk, and the idea is that sometimes the risk will be profitable, sometimes it won't. Okay, you guys take a risk right now? Is any of you taking a risk of any sorts? Nope. No risk takers here? Nope. Well, I think you all take a risk, okay? And the risk that you guys take is the risk of going to school, okay? Hear me out. When you go into school, you're taking the risk of utilizing your time in class, whether it's going to be 2 years or 3-year program. And when you're done, your goal is that you want to achieve a career, okay? Any career. But a lot of times we can tell you that right now the market is hot. If you get into the market right now, there's a chance you can do really well, but there won't be the success that you're looking for. Okay. So a lot of times I've had students, or for example, not students, but I had a lot of, people I grew up with that many of them did not take or go to school. They simply deferred it. Okay. And a lot of times, many of them pay the price. They took the risk and they paid the risk price. And the risk price was that, they are now in their 20s, late 20s, 30s, 40s. They do not have a degree and it's very hard for them. Okay. They're living paycheck to paycheck. And unfortunately, they always say to themselves, I wish I went to school. Okay. Then there's the other side where people decide, well, I do not really want to go to school. They deferred it and they were rewarded on it. Okay. A lot of my friends, for example, they became truck drivers. Some of them decided, you know what, I want to start my own truck driving business. one individual, I had 5 people that I knew that went to security, and there 4 of them regretted going to security. One of them actually started a security company. Okay, so can I give you a statistics if you're going to succeed or not? It's hard to tell. Okay, but you guys are taking a risk right now because right now you guys are spending either 2 or 3 years in college. You guys are investing in your future, and the outcome is different for everybody. Sometimes, you go out there in the workforce. You guys are year 1 right now. Year 1, the economy is booming. Everything's going well. You're hearing, successful ring bells. In the 3rd year, as you are about to graduate, it's like spring of like 2026. You guys are about to graduate, and kabam, the economy crashes. No jobs out there. Okay. So you're left with, next to nothing. You're left with your part-time job and your degree. What is useful for your degree? Okay. And that's unfortunate. That happens. Okay. And we cannot protect it. We do not control it. And it's life, right? But a lot of times that is where you take a risk. Okay. You pay the principal, you pay the price. Okay. You take a risk. Okay. You don't exercise, you pay the price. You sit down idling, you pay the price. Okay. You don't ask a girl or your guy out for a date, you pay the price. Okay. Everything comes at a price in life, and that's risk taking. And for some people, Grace, we take risk every day. And I agree with Grace. Okay. We all take a risk. We cross the street and there's a risk to be taken. There's a risk to walk outside in your front lawn. Okay. There's a risk everywhere. Okay. We are human beings. We live risk every day. We put things in our mouth. There's a risk it might not be healthy. We walk on the street. There's a risk we might be injured. Okay. And there's a risk, of course, that you're idling in school. You don't have a focus in your career. Happens all the time. And there's sometimes rewards there and there's consequences, but we cannot tell who it is. Okay. So again, I cannot just tell you out of the top of my head that you're going to make right after school $30,000 or $150,000. We don't know. Or you're going to start a business. That is all a risk. So the term risk means that the outcome of risk is an entrepreneur venture can't be known as well as our lives. So entrepreneurs, therefore, are always under a certain degree of uncertainty, and they can't know the outcomes of many of their decisions. And consequentially, many of their steps that they take are motivated mainly by confidence that they have. So the same confidence as going to school, confidence as getting a no, confidence as asking a girl or a guy out, and many steps that they take motivated mainly by their confidence and their innovation in understanding business environments in which they operate in. Okay, so that's where risk taking is. People take a risk every day. Okay. And in the back of entrepreneurs, people's heads, if you like the idea, there's probably people like you who like the same idea as well. Okay. So if you like skateboarding, well, you're the only skateboarder in my class, but I am pretty sure that in other schools, in other locations, there's quite a lot of skateboarders. So there is a niche out there. And that's where entrepreneurs are born. We use a TTC. So yeah, we take a risk. Ha, ha, ha. Yes, there is a lot of risk. Okay. Very, very violent TTC that nowadays. But yes, we all take a risk. And let's not talk about TTC or walking on the street. Let's talk business because this is a business class. We all take a risk irregardless. Okay. So same thing with entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs take a risk, but a lot of times the idea of entrepreneurs is that entrepreneurs will take a bigger risk than other people. And the reason why they do that is that they have confidence. They have confidence in themselves. And some people who say to themselves, well, I cannot do it. Entrepreneurs say they can do it. Okay. So the question now is, am I an entrepreneur? And the question is, are you? And the answer is, I don't really know because a lot of you guys are different and I got to know you guys in different sequentials. But what I do want to understand here is if you're going into a business, okay, I want you guys to look at a quiz and I've written a quizzer on it. And it's, again, it's not a quiz that you get marks on. It's a quiz to know where you lie in. So what I want you guys to do is when you have time, click on it and do a test for yourself to say, do I have what it needs to be an entrepreneur? Okay. And maybe, if you are honest with it and you answer it correctly, maybe you are an entrepreneur. Maybe you have the will to start your own business. Okay. So if you do have the will and you do have the want, take a quiz, take a chance, and try it. Okay. Maybe it'll turn out that you're not an entrepreneur. That's fine. Okay. Not many people are. Many people prefer that they have a 9 to 5 job, a secure job, a job that knows that they're going to get paid, and a job that is well rounded. Okay. So when you have time, guys, by all means, take a quiz and let me know. Okay. Where, and how do you fit in? All right. And hopefully by next class, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do a quick quiz. And when you get the results, what I want you guys to do is submit it to me, and then you'll get in class marks. Okay. So please put that into your timetable. Wednesday at 10:30, we'll do a quick quiz in, and whatever the mark or whatever the result is, I want to know. Copy it, paste it, and send it to me, and then you will get the residuals. Okay, so let's talk about the outcome on Wednesday of if you become an entrepreneur. Why start your own business? Well, there's a lot of reasons. You want to be your own boss. Trust me, guys. Some people take me as a boss. I'm not your boss, but if you see out there, some bosses are not the best. Okay, they're cruel, they're mean, they're controlling. Okay, and they micromanage you. You don't want to be micromanaged. You want to wake up whenever you want. You want to have your own lifestyle, and you prefer to be your own boss. Okay, you want to manage yourself, and you know that your performance is really high. So why not start it? So you want to kind of accommodate a specific lifestyle. Some people like to be night owls. Okay, I think there's a student in my class that asked me about international business. Who was that? Grace? Grace? She's here today? Grace on the fire? Nope. I think she messaged me, I think, a while back. Nope, no
Yes.
Grace. Hi, Grace. You
Hi.
talked to me about international business, remember?
Yes.
And I
Yes.
still remember. I have good
See?
memory skills. But
Yeah.
international business is very, very unique. Okay, why is it? Well, depends on where you do international business. It is a form of entrepreneurship in a way. Okay, and sometimes you might be a night owl. Okay, so let's say if you're working with Europe, Europe is about 5 to 7 hours away. Okay, so that means that if you have to be on their time zone, you may have to wake up super early or super late. Depends on how you see it. Okay. So a lot of times, if that is the case, let's say you work with a Chinese manufacturer, China is about 12 hours away from our time zone. So that means that in some cases, you might start your day at 9 o'clock at night. Okay. You would start from 9 to 12 o'clock at night, work your way until maybe 3 in the morning, and then sleep all day. That's fine. That's your call. But nonetheless, of course, this is the lifestyle you want. Okay. And the goal of this lifestyle is you want to achieve your own financial independence. You want to enjoy and create freedom for yourself and decide that, whenever you want to take a break, you want to take a break. You want to use your skills and knowledge to the best of it because you realize that by doing an administrative job, even though it's secure, it doesn't give you the right results. And as a way, entrepreneurship is the way that you want to go. So what sort of characteristic distinguish those who start a business from those who don't? Well, very simple. More to the point of many people actually follow through the desire to start up their own businesses. And the most common reason to start a business is that they want to have some form of freedom. They want to have some form of creativity. They realize that maybe for 10, 12 years, they've been working in a company, in an industry, and they reached the limit. They realized that this is what I'm going to do for the next, 40 years of my life. I do not want to do that, and I want to do something bigger, better, more attractive. And as a result, many people decide that entrepreneurship is the way to go. Okay, it's all about high risk rewards. I think it is. I agree. It is a lot about high risk. Okay, and the rewards are that if you do really well, if you stay in the game, then there's going to be a lot of things that you want to take in. But Mr. Shaw, you mentioned very, very easily that there is a high risk here. Okay. And that's the thing we have to ask ourselves. We have to sit down and realize what is the risk and what I'm willing to take. So there's a lot of questions that you have to start up with the risk that you want to take and how much you want to take it. So a lot of times when we talk about the questions to ask ourselves, okay, first question you want to ask yourself, am I a self-starter? Okay. Do I start in the middle of the day? Okay. Can I be managed by my own? Can you, as yourself, your own human being, can you manage your own operations? Okay. Because a lot of times this is where the biggest problem exists. One of the biggest problems is that you simply do not have the will to actually be motivated to start. Okay. Some people, not gonna lie, they do not want to get out of their bed. Okay. They still like sleeping in their bed and being comfortable all day. And that's a given. But some people will wake up at 6, 4, 5 in the morning. They'll wake up early, they'll go at it, and they will be productive all day. Okay. So you have that will, even though some days you're not going to be getting what's needed, then you'll have a good outcome. Okay. How well do you get along with different personalities? A lot of times you're going to be dealing not only with personalities for management, but you're going to be dealing with other customers and other people. Some people will give you a good direction. Some people will give you a bad direction. Okay. So you're making sure that you are handling it pretty well. Are you good at making decisions? Do you wait to ask other people for decisions? Can you handle different pressures? Can you handle very light pressures, hard pressures? Can you work long hours? Is that the way for you? Or do you prefer that by 5 o'clock, you want to leave everything, close operations, and, you know, call it a day after 5 o'clock and open again at 9? Do you have any physical and emotional stamina? Can you handle working long hours? Can you handle being in a situation where it's very anxious, where you do not know what's going to happen in the next month or so? Okay. Is that situation comfortable for you? Okay. Do you know how to plan or organize your time very wisely? Do you know how to plan your company? And how will the business affect your family? Because again, some people start a business 10, 12, 15 years down the road. Okay. Maybe in the next 10 years, your goal is to gain some trust, gain some leverage in your industry, and then decide that after a while, you want to open up your own company. So now the question is, can you handle that all together? Okay. So if you answered positively to many of these questions, another thing is that we have to answer why people answer otherwise, okay? And on Wednesday, when we come back again, when we answer these questions all together, I want to be able to ask you some of the other questions that might be readily more available, okay? One of the questions that I want to ask you is, why do businesses actually fail? Okay? Because a lot of times, big companies, they normally do not fail. Okay. Big companies have a strategy. They have money, they have investors, they have a whack load of top management. They are ready to succeed. But many other companies are not the same. So, why do businesses fail? And there's basically four reasons why they fail. Number one, money. All right. Without hard money, okay, the businesses, especially small businesses, tend to fail. So without hard cash, you can't get very far. What you have to do is line up initial financing early on, or at least have done enough research to have a plan to raise money. Okay. So sometimes money is a big issue. Security is also a big issue. Okay, a lot of people don't want to start a business because they do not want to sacrifice their steady income that comes with a 9 to 5 job. Okay, 9 to 5 jobs, at least you know exactly the outcome. You know exactly when you go on Indeed.ca and you look for jobs, and even if you do get it, you don't get it, you know exactly what the pay will be. Okay, you know exactly that every single year you're going to be making $50,000 to $60,000. What does that mean? Well, when you look at a budget after taxes and so forth, you're able to pay for your rent, you're able to pay for your food, you're able to pay for your entertainment and then some, have a little bit of savings, and you're comfortable. Okay. Is entrepreneurs the same? Not really. Okay. Security is never agreed upon. Okay. Every single day that you run a business, it's survival. All right. It's survival that you want to make sure that your customers come in. In fact, all right. And I'll start it off very easily. If you start a business tomorrow and your business, let's say, is a store, you're going to be at a minus in the first hour of your business. Okay? Minus. Why is that? Well, if you start a company on April 1st, and please don't start a company April 1st, it's a joke, April Fool's Day. But if you start a company April 1st, the rent, the hydro insurance, the items you have, the workers you're going to hire, they're all going to be charging you. Okay. So in the first month, you're already at a minus. Okay. And the goal is that in the next 3 months, you're going to have to pay off what you have lost. So many people do not like that. Okay. And many people do not want to give up their day job. And they're very comfortable making 60, 80, 90, whatever the salary is. So you run the business sometimes part-time or connect with someone to help you run a business. Maybe you have a co-founder, but a lot of times there is a situation where you're not very comfortable on not knowing what the future is. Okay. And a lot of times for many entrepreneurs, some of them, they make $100,000, let's say, a year, and next year they may make 60,000, maybe 20,000. Okay. Are you willing to accept that? Okay. And a lot of times companies are not willing to accept a loss, and as a result, they end up going out of business. Okay. But another thing that also is frightening for many entrepreneurs is competition. All right. Competition is that a lot of people don't know how to distinguish their business ideas from similar ideas, and it's very hard to figure out a niche market. And a lot of times, when they do figure it out on how to do something cheaper, faster, and better, it lies in the competition. And sometimes you want to get into a market and you realize that the market is very saturated. Okay. So one of the businesses I told you about was the business of being a real estate agent. Okay, that is the business at the end of the day. And a lot of real estate agents, it's very, very hard to crack in because there's so many agents out there. So what happens is that if you stick in the game, you can succeed. But there's people that I've known who are real estate agents that they stick in the game for so long that they simply cannot make a profit. Okay. They simply cannot find new customers. They simply cannot close deals. They simply cannot manage that lifestyle. And unfortunately, they end up not doing very well. Okay. So at the end of the day, sometimes the idea of competition frightens them. Okay. So when you have so many people in the same game, there's very little amount that's being given. And at the end of the day, so many people in the market means that you're dealing with competition. And unfortunately, it's a fight for the last place. And unfortunately, you did not make it. Okay. Then the other side is that there's lack of ideas. Okay, lack of ideas is that some people simply do not know what sort of business they want to get into and what to do. Okay, they find out the trends that are successful. They turn their hobby that they have into a business. So some people like cooking, they own a restaurant. Some people like fashion, they own their own company. They turn a hobby into a business and they think about the business from different perspectives. Sometimes when you lack ideas, what do? You buy the idea. Okay. Some people will buy an idea like a franchise. Okay. They buy a franchise. They find a solution to something that maybe is there. Okay. And they try to find a business like, let's say, Tim Hortons or McDonald's that they want to get into. Another way to find a solution, it's something that actually annoys you. Okay. So, for example, when you are walking down the street and you say to yourself, man, I wish we had A, B, and C, then the light bulb hits your head a little bit. You realize that there is a potential, success here. Okay. So all of a sudden you realize that something that actually slows you down, something that actually is missing your life, that could be the next big thing. Okay. And then turn out to be into a multi-billion dollar business. Okay. And now what happens a lot of times? Okay. A lot of times entrepreneurs sit there and realize, man, we're missing so many key areas in our business. Maybe we should go into it and realize what kind of business we want to get into. So as a result, many people have ideas, but unfortunately, some of the ideas are lacking thereof. Okay. So early stage financing, where can you get money from if you're a young entrepreneur? Well, an entrepreneur with great ideas may win funding through sometimes pitch competitions. So sometimes you can be in a pitch competition, maybe in a college or in a industry. You tell them the idea, and if they like your idea the most, you can win. Maybe $10,000, maybe $20,000, who knows? But it's a pitch competition where local municipalities and government agencies understand that economic growth depends on successful new businesses. So they will often conduct a competition in hopes of attracting new businesses altogether. Sometimes you can do something called crowdfunding, which is very new. Crowdfunding, where you have an idea, you have a prototype, you put it online and you tell people, get into my company, invest. And if you invest very little amount of money, you'll get the first products. Okay. So there's a lot of investors out there that you can go to crowdfunding, and raising capital as an entrepreneur is using the approach that would typically utilize the funds of the people, and things like Kickstarter or GoFundMe will attract your investors. Okay. The entrepreneur might take offers and tokens of appreciation in exchange for funds, or perhaps might offer some ownership, maybe the first products, to potential investors. Okay, so we're going to talk about Kickstarter and other sites that will give businesses some ideas of doing things globally. Other times, some entrepreneurs also receive funding from what we call angel investors. Angel investors are affluent investors who provide capital to startups in exchange for some ownership position in the company. So, for example, when we look at a thing like Shark's Den, or not, yeah, Shark Tank or Dragon's Den, what they are is they're angel investors. You pitch an idea, competition, and if they like it, they will tell you it's a good idea. If they do not like it, then it goes into another line. Okay. And it only helps you in investing in money, but also helps aspiring business owners succeed, actually, because they have people who actually succeeded in a business give you money in return for some form of ownership. Other times you may have venture capital. Venture capital is that startup companies, although somewhat at a later stage, a venture capital firm will give you a large amount of dollars, and typically they may be an angel investor at some point, but they tend to have higher expectations on returns, and they want more information. Okay, so a lot of times you have angel investors who will pitch a competition. Venture capitalists, they want numbers, figures, data that they hopefully can show that there is success. Nonetheless, one of the key areas that I do want to show you guys is Kickstarter. So Kickstarter, a lot of times you can select projects you most find interesting, but definitely there is some failing projects, and unfortunately, in some cases, some of the projects will never take off. Okay. Nonetheless, when we talk about small businesses, we have to remember that when we talked about small businesses in our class, entrepreneurs play a big role in small organizations. So when we talk a little bit about small businesses, we have to remember very easily that small businesses are companies that are 100 people or less. Okay. A small business is one that is independently owned and operated and have exerting little influence in our industry. And a lot of times, small businesses, what they form is that they form most of our economy. Okay. Aside from contribution to the general economic well-being, founders of small businesses also contribute a growth and vitality in specific areas of our economy. Okay. So socioeconomic development, in particular, small businesses actually create jobs and employment for people. Okay. So one sec, we got some fan mail. What's the actual acceptable ratio of amount of money invested versus equitable demand when an entrepreneur approaches investors, angel or not? Well, usually it all depends on your product. Okay. So if you have a product, for example, that needs a little bit more of a rework, ratio wise, okay, you may get a 7-to-1 ratio, but in most cases, a 3-to-1 ratio with a return of maybe 20% might be a little bit more equitable, but it all depends on the amount and who receives it. Okay. So it's kind of a very variable question here, Nathan, that in most cases, a acceptable ratio is based on what type of demand some investors are willing to put in. Okay. No problem. But either and irregardless, why are small businesses very important for our economy? Well, when you look at it, they do create employment. They do spark a lot of innovation because they're young. They don't have hierarchy going on, and they also provide opportunities for many people, including women, minorities, and other groups in our society to achieve financial reward, success, and independence. Okay, so again, look at it from the perspective of the internet. When the internet formed, we started having something called IoT, Internet of Things. All of a sudden, we opened the internet for information, and then you had games. You had people creating ideas from it, okay? You had companies who are sitting in Silicon Valley with the weirdest, stupidest ideas, but those ideas are $1 million ideas, $1 billion ideas, okay? And there are investors. There were early investors who said that Google was going to succeed. And now look at them. They're doing really, really well. So aside from creating jobs, the majority of Canadian workers first entered the business world working for small businesses. And although the split between those who work in small companies and those working in big companies is about fair, even though there's very little amount of companies that are big, but when you look at the employment, they're very high. Big companies are about the same that's hire small firms and frequently fire more frequently than big companies do. Why? Well, at any given point, lots of small companies are started and some expand. But sometimes, please remember, guys, that small companies, they work on survival and expansion. So some small companies are not that successful. And again, at any given point in time, small companies may shut down and small companies may lose workers at their fortunate. And because small companies go down. This gives us an opportunity that some small businesses, which result in increase in the number of workers, can spark some ideas. Okay, so what happens here is that in some cases, small businesses can innovate and they tend to offer environments that appeal to individuals, okay, with talent and invent new products or improve new ways of doing businesses. Decision making is very important, and a lot of times many companies provide opportunities to many people, including some small minority groups. Okay, so please remember, guys, that a lot of the ideas that we have, it doesn't come from big companies. Big companies buy the ideas, but small companies are the ones who start the ideas. So you will hear a lot of times that in small companies are the ones who create the idea and then get sold out by big companies and then given the reward at the end of the day. All right. Does anyone have any questions for me? Anything that I can add here for you guys about entrepreneurs making it big in the industry? Nope. Okay, no problem. All right, so what we'll do right now, guys, is we'll take a small break, 10 minutes. The time is 1:20. Let's take a 10-minute break and let's be back on 1:30. Okay, when we're back at 1:30, guys, we'll hopefully restart where we talked about, and then we have new income. Okay, so again, small businesses is the portal through which many people enter the economic mainstream. Business ownership allows individuals to achieve financial success as well as pride in their accomplishment. And definitely we want to reward people. While the majority of small businesses are still owned by males, the past 2 decades have seen a substantial increase in the number of business owned by women. And definitely they create a lot of creativity and ownership altogether. So beyond that, there is different good producing tangible items that have in different industries for entrepreneurs. There is a lot of entrepreneurs who go in specific industries. And again, good producing tangible goods, manufacturing, construction, agriculture play an important role. Um, when we talk about goods produced sectors, the largest area of the goods produced sector are construction and manufacturing. Construction businesses are often started by skilled workers such as electricians, plumbers, painters, and home builders, and they generally work on local projects. And although manufacturing is primarily the domain of large businesses, there is an exception. According to Reality Works, a company that monitors entrepreneurs, a manufacturing enterprise components of something from Ohio and China is assembled in one other location. And we have a lot of activities that have even students that get into programs for entrepreneurs and definitely create a market out there for goods producing items. Then, of course, another thing we have is service producing areas. Service producing areas, myself, I'm one of them. Many small businesses in this sector are, for example, retails. They buy goods from other firms and sell them to consumers in their stores as a service. And many of them, what they do is they sell it by phone, through direct mail, through internet, and a lot of entrepreneurs are turning increasingly to the internet as a venue to start their ventures. All right. So take for example. One who started a fascination with the red radio flyer wagons that many today's adults had owned as children. So somebody in about 25 years ago, by the name of Tony Roeder, he started an online store through Yahoo, and he wants to sell red wagons from his home. And in 3 years, he turned an online store into $1 million project. Okay. Other small business owners in these sectors are wholesalers. They sell products or businesses that buy into resale or company use, and even local bakeries. They get into the market as well. Local bakeries, for example, is acting as a wholesaler when it sells desserts to a restaurant, which then resells them to you guys for a profit. So a small business that buys flowers from a local grower, let's say manufacturer, agriculture, they also resell to the retail stores, in example, and a high portion of small businesses, they definitely go into a sector in which they are professional individuals. Okay, so doctors, professors, dentists, and other individuals in service industries, they are their own boss. Okay, so for example, insurance agents, accountants, lawyers, they are businesses by themselves and businesses that provide personal services. Okay, so even hairdressers and dry cleaners are their own business. And what a lot of times we do is that they impact our community. Okay, they provide services but don't make tangible goods. Okay, what you guys are using for myself is you're using me as a lecturer. You're using me as a person who comes with experience, who has the technical expertise to run a class. Okay, now let's other people do the same thing. They open their own retail store. They're middlemen, wholesalers. They do transportation like freight forwarding and trucking, finance, entertainment, recreation, you name it. There is a niche out there for service. There's also niche for accommodation like Airbnb, Uber, food services, and number of other ventures that you can get into just by giving a service to people. All right. And hello, Prof. May I know which group I'm in? Not sure which group you're talking about. Because, well, are you talking about the class or what particular group are you referring to? We didn't create a group yet in this class. Umi? So nonetheless, when we start to understand a little bit about entrepreneurs, there is a lot of advantages out here, okay? But you have to remember, guys, that every form of creating a company comes with ups and downs. Okay. And the reason that comes with up and downs is that there are advantages and disadvantages in every sector. Okay. So a lot of times when we look at the activities, there are advantages to being an entrepreneur here. It depends on how you want to look at it. Some of the advantages are independence, lifestyle, financial rewards, learning opportunities, creative freedom, and personal satisfaction. All right. Then there's disadvantages that play into an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur takes a huge risk altogether. Please don't forget that. An entrepreneur has the biggest risk out of all right? When you work in a company, the risk you're willing to take here is that the company may hire you and may let you go for numerous reasons. Maybe you're not performing well. Maybe you did something bad. They fire you. Maybe they have to let you go. And we saw this a couple of days ago. Nordstrom in Canada closed its operations. Okay. Now we have 2,500 people who had a steady job who do not have a job anymore. Okay. But nonetheless, if you own Nordstrom, you have a higher responsibility here. Okay. People who start a company, when you leave, when you're out of a job, you have insurance. We call this EI, employment insurance, meaning that the government will step in and give you a couple of months pay until you find a new job. Okay. They'll give you EI money, we call it. Okay. And that's good for you. That means that you can pay your bills. It may mean you have to cancel a couple of things. You cannot buy shoes you wanted, entertainment you want to go to, but you may still be steady. Okay. That's what the government will offer you for a couple of weeks, months, maybe. Okay. But for entrepreneurs, it's a little bit more risky here. Okay. The risk here is that there is a financial cost, and some people will give their houses as collateral. Okay. So it means that if your business tanks, you owe hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the collateral may be your house. So you may have to sell your house, pay off your debt, and move into a rental or lose your house. And that can happen. That's a huge risk, and people are not willing to do that. Okay. And unfortunately, you guys are young. Some of you guys still live with your parents. Some people will ask their parents for the loan, and then the parents are tied up to it. Okay. So that means that your parents who are about to retire, all of a sudden your businesses doesn't do very well, and it turns out that they need to bail you out, and the only way they can bail you out is through their own assets, which is their house. All right. So on top of financial risk, there is stress out there. Okay. Please remember that because you own your own business, it means a lot of times that you take the risk, the highest risk out there, and you have to realize that the risk comes with consequences, such as stress, as we talked about, such as learning opportunities, freedoms, and so forth. Sometimes it might not be there. Okay. And sometimes the undesirable outcome is that your company is okay, not a problem, but you're not making a lot of money. Okay. Your company is only making a fraction, and you realize that there's no point out there. And as a result, that can also be a con, a disadvantage to starting a company. Okay. So nonetheless, of course, ownership options and ideas from scratch are always an option for you guys. When we look at ownership and options and ideas are all over the place. Everybody has some form of ideas, and they have to write down a blueprint on it. Okay. They have to come up with how the idea can sell and how can you get your hobby or your solution into paper and make sense to other people. Okay. So the most common and the riskiest option is starting from scratch. The approach lets you start with a clean slate that allows you to build a business the way you want it to, not anybody else. And you select the goods or services you're going to offer, secure your location where you want to do business in, and hire the right employees. And then it's up to you to develop your customer base and build your reputation. Okay. So some people like to start from scratch. They have an idea, they open the idea, and then they go about it. But like you, we have something called a writer's block. Okay. All of a sudden, we just don't have an idea out there. Okay. You really want to own your own company, but you have no option out there. You do not know what to sell, how to sell. You're simply stuck in A, but you don't want to be in A. You want to be in B. Okay. And another part that you can do here is if you cannot start your own idea, you can buy an idea. How do you buy an idea? Very simple, guys. You can buy an idea from an existing company. Okay. So if you decide to buy an existing business, Some things will be easier for you because the company already exists. We call this idea of buying an existing company a key turn company, okay? Or better yet, a turnkey company. Why is it a turnkey company? Today, I sell you a company. Tomorrow, you own it. All you have to do is turn the key, open the lights, take the risk, and it's all yours. Okay? But like everything in life, it's a risk. Okay? So don't expect that if you are opening a new company from an existing business, you will succeed here. Okay? The business, okay, is easier. The business is proven per se, okay, but you already have proven product, current customers, and active suppliers, and have a known location and even trained employees. Okay, you find it much easier to predict business future success, but it's never a guarantee. Okay, some people prefer the older owner. Some people do not like you. That's a fact. It happens. Okay. You start a business and you create new policies. You cannot manage your employees properly. Your customers expected something different. All of a sudden, a company that's proven to create $200,000 under your belt only creates $40,000. Okay. I'm not going to say how it happened, but maybe there's a good chance that maybe your management skills are not up to date. And that's something that is very critical when you're buying a company. Okay. When you're buying existing business, you need the business skills. How do you get business skills, guys? Anyone want to answer that question for me? How can you get business skills? I think maybe 90% of you guys know what the question is and know how to answer it, but are just so scared to answer it. And I can tell you off the top of your heads what it is. Just shoot me what it is. What's on your hearts? How do you build business skills? Anyone want to take a shot here? Any want to break the ice on this? It has to do something with Centennial College. By learning. What do you want to learn, Raquel? Experience it yourself, sure. But more importantly, Centennial related. You take a program, okay? You take a program like business and you apply the skills, all right? So you study in school, sure, all right? So stay in school, all right? Study at school, learn how to run a business, and definitely build a skill from it, okay? It can happen, all right? But you need the experience first and foremost, okay? If buying an existing business is not in your key, well, another option that I have for you is, like I mentioned, very similar to buying an existing business. And one more fan mail saying, learn from experts. That's true as well. Maybe you take me as an expert. Who knows? But you can also do franchising and licensing. So again, franchising and licensing, you can buy a franchise. A franchisor, which is a company like McDonald's, Burger King, Subway, and so forth, they grant you permission to franchise you, the buyer, and the right to use the brand name to sell the goods or services. Franchises market products in a variety of industries. You can be a franchise in food, franchise in retail. You can have a hotel franchise, travel franchise, real estate franchise, business service franchise, cleaning service franchise, and even weight loss center franchise, and also wedding franchise. Not that I get married anytime soon. So there are the top 10 franchises, according to Entrepreneur Magazine, is that franchise actually is ranked on a list that can be assessed on the 5 pillars of what really makes people want to buy an item. So out of the top 10 franchises in the world, the number 1 franchise are, how about this? I'll give you the top 10 franchises on the list. So in number 10, it's Sport Clips. What does Sport Clips do? They cut your hair, okay? So franchising of cutting your hair is very big. Then in the United States, there's a company called Hardee's, not Harvey's, Hardee's, not Harbee's, Hardee's. Hardee's is a company for food, fast food. And then after Hardee's, it's Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. Buy Taco Bell. Then there's another haircut place called Great Clips. After Great Clips, Sonic Drive. Sonic Drive is a fast food place in the United States. Remax. Okay, Remax sells the real estate. You can actually be a franchise, open a new real estate Remax. Then after Remax comes UPS, UPS freight forwarding, UPS supply chain, but you can also open a UPS store and offer solutions for people. After that, Dunkin' Donuts. We don't have Dunkin' Donuts here, but Dunkin' Donuts is similar to Tim Hortons. Okay. And then there's 7-Eleven. And then right after that, McDonald's. Okay. McDonald's is the number one item for us. Okay. So in Canada, it turns out that 1 out of every 14 workers in Canada alone is directly or indirectly employed by the franchisee industry. And there are an estimated 1,300 franchise brands already operating in Canada alone. Okay. Individual investment vary widely. Okay. It can cost $10,000 to open a franchise and sometimes can run into the millions. Okay. So please take a look at it. For example, KFC, not a top 10 brand, but if you want a KFC franchise, for example, it does require an investment of 1.3 million to about $2.5 million. Okay. So again, guys, it's a lot of money. Okay. And there's still a risk here. And when you pay into a KFC restaurant, the fee includes the cost of the property, the equipment you buy from the KFC, training, startup costs, and the franchise fee, a one-time charge for the right to operate a KFC outlet. Okay. McDonald's is the same price almost. It's about $1 to about $2, maybe $3 million. And Subway sandwiches shops offer a more affordable alternative. And sometimes the investment ranges from about $150,000 to roughly $275,000, depending on where you are. Okay. So please remember, guys, in franchise, in addition to your initial investment, you'll have to pay 2 other fees on a monthly basis. Please remember that you pay something called a royalty fee. So whatever you make, you have to pay typically between 3 to 12% of the sales. So if you made, let's say, $100,000, you owe me on my franchise 10% of $100,000. Okay, that's 10 grand. You owe me 10 grand every month just because you have my name. Even though you worked hard on it, you owe me as a franchisor. Okay. And for also continued support from the franchisor and the right to keep using the company's trade name, advertising fees sometimes to cover your share of national and regional advertising. And you'll also be expected to buy your products from the franchisor. So that means, guys, that the company can simply come in and say, listen, you want to buy hamburger buns? You have to buy from me. You want to buy advertising space? Me. You have to buy all these things from me. Okay. And on top of that, you owe me a royalty fee. And also in McDonald's, okay, they may come up to you and say, well, your equipment is outdated. Even though you opened up last year, it's outdated. You have to buy all new equipment. Okay. Or even worse, you have to renovate your restaurant every 5 years. So all of a sudden, you invested $2.5 million in McDonald's, and then McDonald's tells you pay $50,000 more for new equipment and $150,000 more to fix your restaurant. Okay. Do you have that kind of money? And like always, guys, there's no guarantee here. And sometimes if you do not meet the criteria, if you break some of the rules, if you do not pay the royalty fee, McDonald's has the right, and every other franchise has the right to take away your franchise. Okay. And here's the worst part, guys. Do you think you're going to get back your $2.5 million investment? No way, Jose. You'll not get back a cent of it. Okay. So if you break any of the rules, you're not going to get anything back. Okay. And that is a risk that people are willing to take. Okay. So please remember, guys, there's 3 options. You can start from scratch. You can buy into a business. You can buy a franchise, a license, but there are risks. And like everything, businesses do fail. Okay. Bad business ideas will fail, guys. bad business ideas, like any idea that you have, is a business idea, and the business idea is good in your eyes, but maybe flawed in other people's eyes, either in the conception or in the execution stage. If you tried selling snowblowers in Hawaii or in a hot desert like in Saudi Arabia, you will not do well there, unfortunately. If you tried selling, icicles in Canada, there's no need. You could count on little competition, but you'd still be doomed to failure because there's no market out there. There's companies that really do well, but they have cash problems sometimes. Too many new businesses are underfunded. The owner borrows enough money to set up the business, but doesn't have enough extra cash to operate during the startup phase. And as a result, when there's very little income and very little money coming in, but little going out, you will fail. Okay. Then there is why we go to school: managerial inexperience or incompetent managers. Many new business owners have no experience running a business. Okay. Yes, I do hope that you guys go into school, learn, but even when you learn, it doesn't prove that the business is going to be successful. Many limited management skills are a problem. Maybe an owner knows how to make the product, market it, a product, but doesn't know how to manage people and manage his company. Maybe the owner can't attract top talent, and maybe the owner has poor leadership skills and isn't willing to plan very, very well. Then, of course, there's a lack of customer focus. Sometimes a major advantage of small business is the ability to provide special attention to customers, but vice versa. Some small businesses fail to seize the advantages. Perhaps the owner doesn't anticipate customer need to keep up with changing market demands or customer focused demands as well. And also, last but not least, inability to handle growth. Okay. The inability to grow sometimes could be a problem. So it means that sometimes, even when you grow large, it could be against you. How does that happen? Okay. So you think that sales increase would be a good thing, but alias, on the other hand, guys, often at times, it sometimes lead to major issues. Okay. As the notorious BIG mentioned, more money, more problems. This is a good example here, okay? Because sometimes it could be a major hurdle. When a company grows, the owner role changes and they need to delegate the work to other people and other businesses. And structure can handle the increased volume, but some owners don't make transition happen and find themselves overwhelmed and things don't get done. Okay, customers become unhappy and expansion actually damages the company. So it turns out in some cases that if you have 100 customers a day, you are perfect. You are stable, perfect, and then you expand, you get 1,000 customers, and then after the 101 customer, quality goes down. Or you create 2 locations, and one location is the best, the other location is a failure, and that happens a lot of times. Okay, so these are where we grow. Sometimes growing can also hurt us. Okay, so you want to grow. Very simple. You do not want to grow from, let's say, age 5 to age 15. What happened in the last 10 years? You want to make sure that you grow in baby steps. Okay. Some fan mail from Jazz B. Excuse me, sir. I have some urgent work to. Okay. Well, I'm not sure what this is all about. Okay. So again, guys, please remember that when we talk a lot about the idea of entrepreneurs play such an important role for us. And what I do want to have a takeaway here is I want to show you a little bit about what entrepreneurs do and how entrepreneurs get things done. Okay. So to give you a good example of it, I have a video that I'd like to share with you guys. And I want to show you exactly what the video entails here. Okay. So I want to show you exactly how entrepreneurs succeed and what they can do to make sure that the success runs along the lines here. Okay. So I have a video and I'm going to close caption for you guys. And the video will show you a little bit more about what a business does and how a business focuses on. Take a look and enjoy.
Many of us want to become entrepreneurs. Starting your own business is one of the biggest dreams of our times. But how do you get to be an entrepreneur? Most of the advice focuses on the practicalities, writing a business plan, raising money, finding staff, marketing and PR. We'll go down a different route. In our eyes, at the heart of successful entrepreneurship lies something oddly more abstract, an accurate insight into the causes of human unhappiness. To be an entrepreneur means essentially to become an expert in the things that make life difficult for people. That's because every properly ambitious business is in some way trying to fix things for other people. And the bigger and more original what you're trying to fix happens to be, the more successful your business can be. Because consumer society is now well developed, it may be easy to think that all the big problems out there already have thousands of fixes anyway. Think of all those car companies or pizza outlets or news websites. We surely have enough of everything. What could we possibly add to what's already out there? But to get a sense of the vast opportunities that still remain in capitalism, all you need to do is ask yourself where and in what areas you're unhappy in the course of an average day. Every unhappiness is really a new business waiting to be born. Your frustrations are a nearly inexhaustible source of raw materials out of which the businesses of the future can be built. So while there may already be plenty of breakfast cereals and t-shirts and cell phones and cab rides for sale, there's so much more that frustrates and depresses us. Think of how difficult it is to get on with one's partner, educate children, cope with anxiety, discover what you want to do with your life, find a nice place to live, calm down in the evening. One could go on and on. Our griefs and irritations are endless, thankfully for the budding entrepreneurs. The biggest first step to take towards entrepreneurship is therefore to learn to study your own unhappiness and what might possibly heal it for you and others. When profits decline in businesses, it's really the result of too many people throwing themselves at trying to fix the same area because they can't think of anything more innovative to do, rather than start a new airline, mobile phone company or supermarket chain. And by contrast, healthy profits are a reward for understanding and mastering an area of human distress ahead of anyone else. Of course, ideas aren't enough on their own. You need to take care of practicalities and money, but they won't help you if your original psychological insight into human unhappiness isn't sound. And by the same token, if your insight into what makes people unhappy is razor sharp, and your solutions bold, then however difficult the journey, your business will stand a high chance of making money and benefiting humanity too.
Thank you. All right. Now let's, guys. Whoa, gosh. All right. So going forward, before we go into the next stage, a couple of things that I do want to mention. First and foremost, let's do a couple of key takeaways here. Some key takeaways from today's conversation is very, very critical. And what I do want to hopefully mention is the following. So what I do want to talk a little bit about is what we discussed. And some of the things that we discussed is that entrepreneurs is someone who identifies as a business opportunity and assumes the risk of creating and running a business and take advantage of it. But a lot of times there are risks and there are downside, okay? We like it, but also we don't like it. The three characteristics of entrepreneur activities are innovation, running a business by your own or with a partner, and taking the leap of faith, risk takers, okay? But remember, people, okay? Do you want to run your own business? Many people say no. Are you innovative? Well, I don't really think outside the box. And do you like risk? Between 0 to 1, that is as much risk as I'm willing to take. Other people, they're innovative. They like running their own business and they like jumping out of planes. Let it be, all right? That is a risk taker, okay? So again, a small business, as we saw in our previous classes, is an independently owned and operated company with one or few individuals, up to 100 people. It exerts little influence in its industry, but has fewer than 100 employees. So please take that into consideration. And a lot of times, many entrepreneurs fit into the industry group of companies that compete with one another in similar products. There are two broad types of industries or sectors: the good ones that produce sectors and producing sectors, and the ones that manufacture an item. And lastly, when you decide to start your own company, you'll need to create a business plan and a document that identifies the goals of your proposal business and explain how it will be achieved. Okay, guys? Whew. All right. So, guys, two things next class on Wednesday, what we're going to be doing. Number one, I'm going to give you guys three things. One, I'm going to explain to you guys our next assignment, which is GCE and ethics. I've left in our document for today. If you guys look over it, very simple, put it in. If you guys put in your item all together in assignments, I'm just going to go back to the content to help you guys out a little bit more. In our class, GCE and ethic assignment, okay? This one was released today, but it's due March 20th, okay? What we'll do is next class, I will explain to you. However, if you want to get a head start, I've left down below here the instructions. So you're more than welcome to look at it today. And if you want to tackle it right now, by all means, you're more welcome to do so. So guys, next class, three things. I have a video I'd like to show you about entrepreneurship. That's going to be one. You will do a quiz and submit it for your in-class assessment. And I'm going to give you guys information about this ethic assignment. Okay? Does anyone have any questions for me?
Yes, teacher. When we will do the quiz?
Which quiz are you referring to?
The last one that you have mentioned.
The quiz, this is an in-class quiz. It's basically the one I showed you today. We will do it on Wednesday, okay? It's basically asking yes or no and deciding if you're an entrepreneur or not. Okay? So this one I will give you guys for next class. But basically, once you get the result, you copy it, you put it on PDF, and then you will give it to me as a assessment for today's class, for that class, sorry. And it will be a in-class practice, okay? It won't be, it's not a quiz per se, but basically when you get the result, it will tell you, are you an entrepreneur? Are you not? Any other question? Naseem, you had a question?
Yeah, Professor, in order to make sure I had the same question as in-class assessment quiz, can we just do the quiz right after the class, for example, today, and take a screenshot, and then we're gonna discuss on Wednesday, or we have to just do it in the class?
I would prefer to do it in class because there's more instructions on it. So I want you guys to do it. I mean, right now you could do it if you like, okay? You can go to a lecture, take the quiz, do it, okay? But then keep the results for Wednesday.
Sure, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Nope. Nope. All right. No questions. That's fine. Okay. So guys, thank you so much for those who attended. 1 second, some fan mail. What is the coverage for the quiz on Wednesday? Nathan, it's not a quiz. It's a kind of a tutorial. You just answer yes or no to the questions, and then it generates to you, are you an entrepreneur or not? That's basically it. It's about entrepreneurship, but it's not a quiz to be marked, okay? It's a quiz to see if you are an entrepreneur, okay? And the results, whatever you get, doesn't matter if you're not an entrepreneur or you're middle entrepreneur or you're really an entrepreneur. It just clarifies which kind of degree you're in, okay? So it doesn't really cover much. It covers your own ideas here. How many questions? Again, guys, it's not a quiz for what we took in class. It's ask you questions if you are an entrepreneur. And when you answer the questions, then you get the results if you're an entrepreneur or not, and then you give me the results. So it doesn't matter if you answer them yes or no. It just matters if you get the results, and that's what I'm looking for. You're not going to get 8 out of 10 here, okay? You're not going to get 9 out of 10. All you get is participation marks for doing the test, okay? But it's called a quiz, but it's not a markable quiz. It just says, are you an entrepreneur? Are you maybe middle-sized entrepreneur? Are you a far-fringe entrepreneur? What type of entrepreneur are you? Okay, so that is going to be our assessment next class. Okay, so please come in next class 10:30, and I'll give you guys the breakdown for GCE assignment. I'll give you the quiz time to do it in class, and then I also will give you the video that I have for you guys. Any other questions? Everybody's good? All right. Okay, guys. So thank you so much, guys. I hope you have yourself a good day. Welcome back to our second half. You guys did well in the first one. I wish you guys all the best. Stay safe out there. Stay warm. And I will see you guys here next week. Bye for now. If you have any questions, I'll stick around for the time being. If not, sayonara, and I'll see you guys here next week. Ciao, ciao. And if anybody
Thank you,
needs my,
teacher.
you too. Thank you, Mr. Gustavo. So if you need my assistance, I'll still be around till 2:30. If not, ciao, ciao. Have a good one. And welcome back to our second half.
Ciao, profe.
Thank you. All right. Rajbi, are you here? Nope. Okay.